So I'm chatting today with Lauren and Holt Williamson from Cedar Oak Homes, a custom home builder in Austin, Texas. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey,
It's
it's
good.
good. It's good to
Hello.
be here with you.
Good. I'm so glad to talk to you all. I can't wait to dive into what you're doing with Cedar and Oak. And so let's get started with a little bit about your sort of your background and maybe how you came about, how Cedar and Oak came to be.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to go all the way back to really get the full picture. Lauren and I met working together at a summer camp. And so she was my boss, and I boldly decided to tell her that I liked her about 3 days into camp. And so luckily, it went well, and we're here
Yeah, it was a
today.
risky move.
The risky move. But, that's kind of always been the thread of our relationship and our marriage and so just working together has been something that's helped us feel close and purposeful in what we're doing. And so we started our married life working together for a nonprofit. And it was right before we got married. Lauren asked me to go and find a home for us. And, we were young and dumb and ready to go out on that adventure. I don't know why she sent me, really. It's a lot of faith in that first big decision. And I met with an architect she liked, and he took me to a home that he had just demoed the whole thing. I mean, I walked in the front door and you could see the backyard. It's a 150-year-old farmhouse. And I was like, Lauren, this is it. And I called her. And some reason she said yes. She had the same vision for it. And that was kind of the first initial thread of this home process for us and be able to work on something together. And it eventually led to kind of a turning point in 2019 where we decided to go all in. And the rest was kind of history after that. We've had quite the exciting growth path and plenty of hurdles along the way, but it's been sweet to kind of do that together. And it kind of roots back in the early days of our relationship, I think.
So the company basically was founded on you all searching for your own home.
Well, it wasn't founded then, but I think the seed was planted then, So in 2019, it kind of been a side thing for a long time. So it was our own home. And then we started kind of flipping homes on the side, and we were always doing something else as our career, but this was always something that was kind of a passion. And for, from 2015 through 2019, we were just doing it on the side and really loved it. And it was in 2019, we said, well, let's make this the main thing. And that was when kind of the turning point of we decided we were going to go all in and start this home design and build business together. Put all of our eggs in one basket, so to say. So.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So did either of you have experience prior in, building homes, designing? Where does all that background come from? Self-taught?
No, neither. Yes, it's all self-taught, trial and error. And, there's something really organic. I think, like Holt was saying, the seed was planted. We always have loved homes. The idea of what home is and inviting people in, like real people live life within those four walls. Like, how do you make it something that feels inviting? And that's what home has meant to us for so long. And we just started enjoying the process of actual design selections and the architecture. And, in 2019, when we went all in on this, we were also building a back house in our backyard and very much learn by doing and growing in that and kind of developing how could this process be better? And, oh, well, we should have picked tile 2 weeks ago and now we need to figure it out. And so learning that together and like Cole was saying, us working together, I think has always been a pillar of our marriage that we've loved. So it's been an adventure learning how to do this together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of fascinated by the fact that, so many people who come into this industry, like, I don't know, they have a history with it, a background, their parents, or, but it's what you all have built, and now realizing that, you kind of just started from a passion place, is pretty amazing. And I'd love to hear too a little bit about, I read a little bit about how you came up with the name of the company, Cedar and Oak, and what that means for you and for the business. And I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah. So as we were doing this thing, we thought, wow, we need a name that represents kind of who we are and what we care about. And we went through many things, but something that was pretty consistently true is when we found a house or we found a lot, one of the first things that we did was identify what trees were on the lot. And the cedars and the oaks are kind of the two trees that you find a lot in Austin. And the cedars are the ones that you want to get rid of because they are sucking up nutrients. They kind of spread like wildfire. They're not really, I mean, there's cedar fever for a reason. There's a lot of allergies here, very much tied to that one tree. And those are kind of the trees that you want to get out of the way. And the oaks are the ones that you want to protect and preserve. And those are the heritage trees. You know, those are the things that you want to build around. And I thought, man, what a beautiful picture of life. If we're talking about, we care about what the home looks like, but we care just as much about what home life looks like within those four walls. What does that look like for us as a company to care about, you know, the metaphorical cedars and oaks in our lives? What are the things that are kind of sucking the life out of this land, out of our lives? Let's get those out of the way. Let's move them for this potential, and let's build around the things that are core values, the things that we want to sustain, the things that we want to last, the legacy, the heritage in the rest of our lives. And that's kind of where the name came from.
That's beautiful. And I imagine that now sort of translates into everything you do as far as the design and build and the clients you work with. Tell me a little bit about that. How do you find that rolls into your whole process or your mission?
Yeah. I think that's been a huge process or an important thing to identify up front. So when we first started, we brought on a guy named Thomas Robertson. He's our construction manager. So he's the one that kind of kept the guardrails for us. He's been in the industry for 40 years. And so having him on board was a big deal. But I think from there, early on, you know, sitting down, I remember, you know, at the very beginning saying, Thomas, like if we're builders, you know, we need to build more than just houses. We need to build communities and neighborhoods and relationships. And this needs to be about more than the structure that we're putting up here. And so we kind of started early on. I think I remember his face was kind of like, okay, but we need to build some houses first, you know? And we went back and forth, but it's just been so cool to look on that conversation and see how that aspect, you know, what are the most important things and how do we build something around that? How that's helped us navigate big decisions and relationships that we either needed to continue with or start or let go of, and how we've navigated growth and challenges and stayed true to what mattered most. I think that was the biggest thing that has helped us along the way, not get too spread out or spread too thin, and really focus on the things that we wanted to do, that we had the opportunities that made sense along the way. And so it's been, I mean, strategically and part of our navigation, the biggest thing that's led us to where we are today.
Yeah. I mean, the timeline, it seems, from when you started to where you are now and the amount of growth that you've experienced, I mean, seems pretty fast. So how have you handled that? What did that growth piece look like?
Man, it's just funny because I think that our family definitely thinks that we're crazy in a lot of ways. We've got growth in the company and then growth within our family. I mean, we've had 4 kids in 9 years of marriage, and we've built this business. We just kind of thrive. I'm realizing we kind of thrive in a little bit of chaos and a little bit of crazy. It kind of pushes us out of our comfort zone. And yeah, I don't know that I can really speak more to that, but I'm just kind of looking back like, oh yeah, wait, this maybe is abnormal. This is kind of crazy what we're doing.
The biggest thing too, though, that I've loved to do is, so I went to business school and Lauren studied psychology. So I do think that while our backgrounds are not in design and construction, we have some really kind of key foundational elements. I knew I always wanted to start a business, and Lauren knew she wanted to work with people and develop and pull things out and create kind of positive impact to family and individuals. And so, and that's been a part of my family. So you mentioned some of these things. I'm like, no, there were threads. Like my family, they all own separate and run separate businesses. And so we do get to bounce ideas off each other, and we just happen to be in the construction industry of that. But I think the biggest thing that I remember learning back in school was pivoting businesses. And so, I just thought growing up, it's like, man, we set our goal, we do this one thing, we're gonna go, it's make or break. And I remember many conversations in college looking at, what does success look like? What does failure look like? What does pivoting look like? How do you become adaptable in a changing market and changing scenarios? And so, Lauren and the rest of our team can attest that I have, things kind of planned out many, many years in advance of like, what do we want? And but then the path to get there is changing frequently. It's what are our opportunities? How do we knock on as many doors as possible? How do we look at the opportunities we want to take? And then, what do we do when we get a door that closes in our face? How do we move around it? And, I think the idea of resilience and grit and following opportunity and pivoting has been one of the key aspects of quick growth and not, becoming too devastated when things don't work according to plan, but really finding, the opportunity in the midst of something that was unforeseen, is something that we really thrive in and have found success in. And so that's one of I'd say our biggest takeaways over the last 5 years, both family wise and as business owners.
Yeah. I imagine that you have to just sort of look at things as, like speed bumps instead of roadblocks, and figure out how to quickly navigate around those when you need to. Obviously, you all have a certain set of skills that you bring to the business, and then there's other skills. I mean, you're design build, so you're doing, not only custom building, but you're also doing the interiors. And I mean, it's end to end, correct? Like beginning to end, even helping with property purchasing, right? With the purchasing of the actual property. So how did you know what roles needed to be filled? And how did you, when you're filling those roles, like what are you looking for in those particular, partners, employees, however you may call them?
There's a balance, I think. There are specific, tangible, hard skills that we need. But then there's also great people that just show up, and you're like, well, shoot, this person has all the soft skills that I think that could make them really great here. And so we've hired both. And there's been times, 2021 was our biggest hiring year. And so we kind of scraped by for the first couple years. It was real lean and mean, and we were really overwhelmed, and it was a little crazy. But then in 2021, we decided, I think Lauren was pregnant, about to have our third. And there was a point where it was just me, Lauren, and Thomas, and we had like 14 projects coming up, and we're like, we're in trouble. We can't figure something out here. And so, that fall and that next spring, we're big on what do we need? Who do we have? Who have we been talking to? And then, who's reaching out to us? And so we did some unique hiring, and one of the first, I'd say two of the first key people, one of them had all of the soft skills necessary to do well and none of the hard skills. I mean, her background was in digital marketing and fashion, and we hired her as a designer. And then she's moved to 3 very different roles in the last 2 years, because she's just great. And so figuring out, how can you, once you conquer this area, what can we move to next has kind of been her role. And then we hired a technical designer. She was a 20-year architect to do interior construction documentation and work and make sure that we had very clear documents for our project managers and subcontractors. Those were both really big needs, to hire somebody that could help us kind of develop different things, and then someone that was very tangible to make sure that we had specific designs so that communication was much clearer and needed less kind of oversight and hand-holding, so that then Lauren and I were freed up to continue to kind of grow and do different things. So both of them happened around the same time in the fall of 2021, and we're huge in the way that it freed us up to then kind of continue to grow and hire in different ways. And we've noticed that. So we've definitely hired people with hard skills, and then there's been people that have kind of showed up and you're like, man, they'd be great here, but do we have the capacity to make sure we can train them properly and bring them in? And so we've done a little bit of both, and that's been a unique kind of approach to seeing, again, there's something with the industry that we're in of like seeing the potential in things, where it's like there's a property or a house and saying like, I see what it could be. And I think that's been our approach to, like, the same thing's true of people. And that's created this really cool environment in our company where people are looking for the opportunity each other and calling that out with each other. And, even looking back on that conversation with Thomas at the beginning, it was always the thing that I wanted, and I didn't know how we'd get there. And we looked up at a kind of kickoff 2024 meeting in January, and I was like, I think what we set out to do is happening. And we're like, I don't know how this happened, but this is really cool.
Yeah.
You looked like you were going to say something, Lauren.
Well, I was just going to say too, when it was just the three of us and we were wearing all the hats, and Thomas was managing all the construction stuff and I was doing interior design, what we noticed was there was a big disconnect between someone who's building the house and someone who's designing it. And how do you bring the design to life? Because it's not just once the drywall's up and you're installing tile or flooring. It starts way before in framing and electrical. And we realized that, man, this communication needs to be spot on. And we need to be aligned in how to implement the design as we're pouring the foundation. Like, we need to be thinking with the future in mind. And I think that that's something that's really lacking in this industry is the collaboration between builders and designers. And that was something that we set out to do. I think even before we started hiring, we're like, we want to be kind of the one-stop shop where you're going to get people who know what that's like. Our construction team knows how to look at design plans and the details that are there and knows how to have the foresight for how to build it. And likewise, our designers now know how to communicate with construction teams and how to go in and say, oh, I can see how this is going to impact the future design. We need to make this pivot now. And that has been both a combination of soft skills and hard skills, and we've learned that together. But I think that's something that is unique about us. And to be honest, Gather has been such a big help in that and how to communicate those things to our field team from a designer's perspective. And it's just been cool to grow in that way.
Yeah. So is that something, when you recognize that as being an issue, that you made a point to sort of add that into part of your process? It's like, how do you encourage your teams to make that a priority, that communication piece?
Yeah. I think the tendency with construction people, builders in general, is like, well, I'm just going to do it the way I know how to do it. But every step of the way is like, there's 10 different ways to do it. And we need to find the one that works the best. And so Thomas has done an amazing job leading our team in that of like, we could do it this way, but we could do it 3 other ways. And so reaching out and having this kind of back and forth with the designer and saying that we're not just going to draw plans that end on paper. We're going to draw plans that we can implement in the field. And then our designers being able to see that trust and communication and saying, okay, well, I'm going to make sure that I design things and talk about them up front and make sure I don't design something that doesn't work, or I don't have something that's too complicated or too expensive to work out in the field. So there's this kind of pre-construction collaboration on within our teams, as well as in construction collaboration that took a lot of time, energy, and effort. But when you're kind of creating a new team, if you're a client coming to a builder or an architect and saying, okay, I'm ready to build my forever custom home, they're recommending different people, and a lot of times you get put in a brand new team, people have never worked together. And something that we've focused on is how do we become a highly effective team? And I think it takes some conflict to get there. We gotta make it through conflict, and then we got to be able to come out of conflict in a positive manner. And our team has done that because we've been working together. Our team is established, and people get to step into a highly effective team instead of having to create it up front. And that's just been a huge benefit for clients in general, because it's work that's already taking place. but we had to go through it, and we had to establish and say, this is our priority, and how do we become kind of like-minded in our approach to ensuring that the design and the build are high functioning.
Yeah, I would imagine that in the beginning there was some growing pains around like, no, I know you normally like to do it this way, but this is how we want to do it from now on. And but I also would imagine that once people got used to that all of a sudden the team is like this living organism that's working together rather than separately. And I think people actually feel more a part of something bigger when they know that they have, multiple people that they can sort of rely on to carry things through. And I would imagine, I guess I'm curious to know, how do you see your team pulling together in ways that they might not, if that was not the way that your process worked?
I think what's been really cool in the last year or so is the way that they have kind of worked out some of these things without us involved. So, there's that first process where it's like, okay, this is the goal. And then it's like, we're really involved in the, how do we flush this out? And then there's the, okay, I'm going to let you lead it, but I'm going to be there. And then eventually getting to the point where it's like, I'm going to let you guys do it and I'm not going to be involved. And so getting to that point in the last year or so has been really exciting to hear kind of conversations after the fact where they're like, hey, we had this issue come up, but me and the project manager handled it. Or I had a question on this and I decided instead of going forward, I was just going to ask, our designer Aspen about what her vision was for it. And you're like, oh man, yes, that was our hope. And it's really sweet to see that kind of enacted, almost that kind of surgeon mentality of like, I'm going to show you once, then I'm going to let you do it once, and then I'm going to let you do it. And so that's been our approach to training and teaching. And we're at a phase now with the team that's in place where they're doing it and we're there in kind of a supportive role. And it allows us to take another step towards, okay, what's our next opportunity? And that's been our hope every time, is set up the next stone to kind of keep the path moving forward.
I think some of our core values is this balance of grace and grit. Like, it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to miss that communication piece that you should have had. But like, we're going to keep pushing forward, have grace for one another, and work hard to make it right or do it different the next time. And this team mentality, like, we don't have to get defensive towards each other. We can say like, man, I really dropped the ball there. I'm really sorry. Like, how could we do that better next time? And then getting back together and moving forward as a team, realizing that we are all in each other's corner. We are all for this end result, but we care about one another in the process, and not just like, if we get to a pretty house, but we're struggling with internal conflict, that's not really worth it. I'm not really interested in that. So working hard to have this high quality, beautiful end product, and the same as a team, I think it's a really high standard, but one that we are seeing kind of come to fruition.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I bet your team, it sounds like what you guys have managed to do is the dream that most founders and entrepreneurs want, is to be able to allow their team to have the freedom to make decisions without them. A lot of times, if you can't let go of the reins, you find yourself bogged down in, working like in your business rather than on your business. So allowing your team to really have that autonomy to make their own decisions and to work things out without you, to me, that's success right there. That's it. I'd love to dive into a little bit more on your process. So once you start to work with a new client, doing some research for this chat, I know that you all kind of work in, there's 5 phases, it seems like, of your process. So maybe you could walk me through those a little bit.
I'll let Lauren walk you through the details of those, but I think the main thought on it was, I don't know if there's ever been 2 clients that have had the exact same process. You know, we have this kind of set out on our website of like, this is how it could operate, but everybody comes in with something different and different needs and different goals and different desires. And so we have found that it's been really, really great to be a one-stop shop, and that's really valuable to some. But then there's people that come in with a full set of plans, and they're like, we want you to build this. And then there's been people who are like, hey, you know, we love all of your design, but we want to build it ourselves. And we're working with one client right now who's actually, I think, going to do the whole process with us, which has been a minute since we've had one in that way. But, you know, from lot to furnishing potentially, you know, so that's exciting. And, you know, when we started, we took on Austin was a hot market. And so we did some high-end spec builds. And we kind of took this approach of, hey, you know, customs take 2-3 years, and you're putting all these different teams together. And so there's people from California and Chicago and New York that you know, want a high-end custom home, but don't have that time to spend. They're ready to move. And so we decided that we were going to take on the risk and purchase these properties and then design them, build them, furnish them, and sell them. And what that did was it kind of created this process for us. And so we've been working this out with our own investment, and then being able to offer that to somebody. So someone comes in the door and they say, hey, I have this lot, but I don't know anything about it, and I don't know how to get to the end result. Can you help me? So we sit down and in that first phase, and we'll look at the lot. We'll look at the trees on the lot that might be limiting. We'll look on the easements on the survey with them, and we'll kind of even start conversations with the city of Austin to make sure everything's doable, and walk through that process. Because it actually is more of a puzzle than just being able to say, I want it to look like this on the outside and look like this on the inside. There's different aspects of each lot in Austin specifically that make it to where each home we do is it's unique to that lot. And so that's kind of phase one. And then we move into kind of design and construction. And that's when Lauren and the design team really get to take over and talk and learn about clients' needs and desires for their home.
It is the fun part. And I would say one of the areas that Holt and I love to overlap, because I really love to think about how a family or a single person or a newly married couple is going to operate within their home. And Holt loves architecture. And so I think that's one of the places that we still love to overlap and collaborate, because I'm like drawing circles on a piece of paper, like, okay, this is kind of the flow. And then he gets down and he's drawing it and he's like, okay, but exteriorly, here's what it would look like. And I'm like, no, change this. This needs to move here. And we just kind of go after it. And that part is really, really fun.
We've been lucky to find an architect who is willing to deal with our crazy. So we do, you know, we work through a lot of it, and a lot of times, you know, architects they're creating, and this is their kind of their project and their baby, and our architect has been so collaborative. And he's like, hey, let me be what you guys need me to be. And so if you guys want to take the reins there, I'll draw it and make sure we can get through city permitting. And then if that's all you need and you guys want to take all the interiors and do that internally, that's great. And so it's been a really fun kind of collaborative process. So we'll work with the architect, and then it goes engineering and it goes into permitting, and that's kind of getting through phase one. And then moving to phase two, we started construction, which is fun, because at that point, then we hand it off to a project manager, and we get to see, you know, all the phases of construction start, and you know, people get to watch their home become reality. Everything we've been talking about for months become reality. In the middle of construction is when we start offering furnishing, and we've gotten to do this a few times. It's one of those educational aspects of furniture is so expensive, and when you go to furnish a whole home, you know, sometimes you lose the interest. But when we do have that opportunity, we have someone on staff who is our furnishing coordinator for homes that we're still, you know, building for ourselves in kind of a spec mentality, and then also for clients, and we do both. So she's amazing in the way that she brings homes to life with furniture. It's amazing the difference when you take a clean finished home and put furniture in it. So I think we jumped around a little bit and go quite through that order, but
That's
the
what our
basic
clients
order,
do. So it's fine. Yeah. We're just used to pivoting.
Yeah.
As long as the house gets built, right?
Yeah. I will say when we go to clients, and Lauren can talk a little bit about this as well. But we kind of talked about how most of the time you hear somebody go through the custom home process. They're frustrated, they're burned out, they're tired at the end of it, but they move into the home that they always wanted. And so there's kind of this joy experience at the end, like we finally made it. We've been talking to clients and we've seen kind of the shift of, if we're building something that's meant to be enjoyed, we want to be able to enjoy the process. And so a big part of that client initiation kind of process is saying, hey, who do we work well with? And what are our hopes and expectations for this process? And what we found is who we work really well with is someone who says, what you did over there, or that picture, or this or that, I want it to look like that, and I have no clue how we get there. I have a lot that's ready to go. Will you help me? And saying, okay, we'd love to come in and just help you realize the potential of the whole thing to finish. Versus the person who says, I want to be involved in all the tile selections, or I want to be involved, I'd be there 3 times a week during construction, or I want to look at all these, or I have a background in engineering, or I have this, we have amazing people who love those clients that we have partnerships with, or kind of hand them off, and vice versa. Because we're really outfitted to be one stop shop to say, hey, here's your idea. Let us help you get there, and let's make it a process that's enjoyable. And so that's something we've kind of, again, one of those pillars that we've found ourselves on in the initial client interface.
Yeah. So do you find most of your clients are sort of just like, I trust the process, I trust you all, take over? Is that kind of your sweet spot?
Yeah, we have. And there's plenty of clients. I said in the first phone call before you even meet in person, is we kind of outline those things of who we are and who we've seen the most success with, because we want their project to be successful. And Austin's a great market with a lot of great builders. And so being able to kind of know that there's plenty for all of us, and the hope is that we can partner you with the right person is important. But most of the people that have come to us have had that mentality of like, there's one person we're in the middle of having a conversation with, and they're like, I don't have design inspiration. It's your Instagram. I don't know how to tell you, like, just go do another one and we'll move in. Like that's high praise.
That's amazing.
So it's been interesting that was our hope to set up. We're like, I don't know if people will come if we do it this way, but we've been surprised with the results there.
Well, and that leads me to Lauren, with your background in psychology, do you find yourself using that pretty regularly with people, to understand like how they live in their home, but also maybe helping with some conflict about certain things that they want?
I think I'm going to have to claim it. So then my parents will be pleased that I'm using my degree, I think I'll start saying that I'm using psychology in my work now. No, but I think obviously when you're in interior design, we care about how it looks. We care about the form, but it's just as important to care about the function and how it's going to serve the families and the lives that are living within the home. And so it's really fun. I really do enjoy getting to know our clients. Like, what do you love to do in your space? Do you love to bake? Great. We are going to need to set up these cabinets or this kitchen or this pantry a certain way to serve you in that way. Do you have a million kids? Beautiful. We're going to make some lockers designated for each kid, and we're going to have shelves for all their sporting stuff and their school stuff and a drawer for their shoes. Like, whatever that looks like, I think it's really fun to get creative and design a home around the life that our clients want to live in that home. Because anything can be beautiful, but if it doesn't serve you, then it's just a pretty thing. And again, we care about both. We care about what life looks like there.
But I think she is also not fully expanding on is that comes very naturally to her as a person. And I think that her degree gets to come out because that finding out those things, she does it very quickly and easily. And I think that, sometimes it's just hard to pull that out of people, as like, what what does your life look like? And how do I step into your shoes to design something that makes sense for you? It just comes really naturally for Lauren in all the ways she described, which is really sweet to watch.
Yeah, I imagine some of your clients are like, I don't even know how I function. I just do. You know, they don't realize their own patterns and in needs sometimes. So how nice to have someone to help them with that. And I'm sure when they move into their new home, it's like a glove. You know, they feel like, oh, this is for me. This is so great. Well, so along the lines of sort of designing for your clients, their specific needs, where are you seeing anything new with, like smart homes and AI with requests for, you know, I don't know, making ease of homes easier for your clients? Are you seeing anything interesting out there that you're using or not using or want to use?
Yeah, that is an area of home building that's changing, you know, like crazy right now. So when it comes to the smart home aspect, we have done a lot of different aspects in developments in smart home, installments. But I think the biggest one that we haven't gotten to use that we got really close to one time was an AI integrated smart home, and I'm blanking on the name at the moment, but I could look it up, and it talks to you, interacts with you, and it's all of the kind of the smart home stuff, whether it's, it's control for where you're controlling shades and lights and HVAC and, security and everything in one kind of hub, but it's a smart home kind of AI integrated interaction. And so we hadn't been able to install one of those yet. I think there was one recently here in Austin, which is pretty cool. And so we're up to date with all of it. We see what's going on. I think that the new standard really is smart home. And so all of our homes are pre-wired and pre-installed for different degrees of build out. And we kind of help clients navigate that process mid-construction of, okay, if we're going to install everything, we're going to wire for everything, what do you really want to go ahead and build out, whether it's, speakers or pre-wire for all the shades and do full shades and just get to kind of have that interaction process. But we're definitely building it out to different levels. But it is a standard. So everybody's doing something, is what we've noticed. And our Wimberley project is one of our prettiest homes, for sure, and one of our largest, but it was our most smart home heavy as well. And that was one of the biggest things that the clients were talking about at the end. They're like, man, this home is so beautiful and we love it. But like, specifically the wife, she's like, I just didn't know if I would like all the smart home stuff. We went through the 2000s and we were like, we do all the best stuff and we can't figure out how any of it works. And she moved in, she was like, this is amazing. I turn the remote and I do this and it's like, boom, all these things happen. I get on my phone and I can turn off the house where it's turn off every light, closing every shade, locking every door. She's like, it's amazing. And so, it's been really sweet to watch, those innovations become really useful. And one of the things that's praised at the end of the project, which is pretty crazy when you really think about it.
Yeah, I'm sure that you're just going to get more and more requests for those things as time goes on and they become more affordable, mainstream. And it'll be interesting to see. I mean, there's already appliances and things that, I've heard about that turn on, and of course toilets and things like that and faucets, but I don't know. I'm sure there'll be all kinds of cool new things in the next, couple of years even. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. We've been talking about AI a bunch as a team too, just in marketing, and design, and just watching how, renderings and design is becoming more of a focus of AI developments right now, and seeing where's that going to be in a year or 2 years or 5 years, and how does that replace different things that we're using at the moment, and what does that kind of unlock for client interactions. And it's an exciting growth area for our industry and many other industries at the moment. Yeah. Have you all been using any other kind of technology with your clients, like any VR or anything like that? Not yet, anyway. We've been looking at different things and haven't pulled the trigger on any of it yet. But it's been a conversation the last few weeks for sure. I think a lot of people are sort of right there on that edge. They haven't quite pulled all that into their business yet, but you know, it seems like it could save a lot of back and forth down the road, or a lot of like, oh, oops, that doesn't actually work or look the way we wanted it to. When you can actually see it almost in real time and catch that beforehand, I could see that being a huge benefit. What's the future of Cedar and Oak? Where do you see yourselves in, I don't know, 5 years?
That is a good question. Not because we don't have the answer, but because we probably have 50. And I think that we have long-term goals of like, man, wouldn't it be so cool to get into furnishing where we kind of make our own pillows or rugs or tables, like actual furniture pieces, or you know, something getting into hotels or getting into like, there's a whole slew of things that we are excited about, but we are kind of open-handed and we're going to keep pushing forward like we always have. Like, what's the next open door? What's the next opportunity? What's the next, like, and how could this lead here? And so saying like, we want to hit this goal by 5 years, I don't know if that's necessarily our style, but we're like, man, we're going to keep connecting and seeking opportunities and growth and developing our team at a healthy rate, right? Maintaining like our values and things that we really care about. And kind of open to where that takes us, but we're loving what we do and loving this team that we've built, and we're just so honored, honestly, that we get to work with the people that we do every day and do this thing together that we love to do.
I think there's things that we love. You know, I think we got into homes instead of commercial because it's the aspect of, you know, that's where you spend your time. That's where memories are made, life's shared, and there's families there. You know, you think about your childhood home. There's memories. There's it's where friends are over and people gather, and so things that are in that vein, I think, are exciting to us. And so whether that's communities that we're building outside of Austin, or, you know, we've talked about wedding venues and furniture and all kinds of things. And so doors are opening in different ways, and we'll see where they go. And, you know, my brother his business is he develops ranch land. And so there's just all different partnerships in store kind of waiting, and we'll see when things kind of come together. But I think there's a lot more for us to do still. So we're excited.
Yeah. All right. Well, if people want to follow you, follow your work, follow what you're doing, where's the best place for them to, or connect even, where's the best place for them to find you?
On Instagram, Cedar and Oak Homes. I feel like we're updating projects and inspiration, and it's a great place to connect. We love connecting with people through there. And then on our website, cedarandoakhomes.com. There's an inquiry form there if people want to get in touch with us, and they can see our portfolio and kind of that 5-step process.
We did just start a newsletter too this year. So there's a place to put your email in, both on our website and Instagram. And that's kind of the behind the scenes of what's coming up in the next, month or so. That's not totally public yet, which has been fun for people to kind of follow along and be in the loop on too. So
yeah, that sounds great. All right. Well, anything else you want to share, or have we pretty much covered it all?
That's about it. Okay. We've got a lot of homes that are coming to the market as well. And we got a few more spots this year for custom clients. So it's going to be another exciting year for us. And then we'll see what comes of it.
All right. Okay. Well, this has been really fun, you guys. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today. And we'll be following what you guys are doing.
Thanks so much, Scottie.
Thank you.